We hit them?
I just hit mine and it turned green.
Yeah. Good.
I think we're good.
Okay. All right, well, so welcome everybody to our quarterly meeting of West Neck Water District. And the agenda today is approval of the November meetings, if anybody can actually remember what we did in November, but I did read it, and it looks good to me. If you want to just take a moment to go over those minutes.
I was good.
No.
Oh, these,
Yeah.
oh, you have them here because I was reading
Yep.
over them on my phone. Yeah, I was pretty good with them. Did anybody else find anything in here that's clear?
No, I thought I went over them and it looked as I remembered.
Are you Kim? Is that Kim?
Suzanne.
Suzanne.
Kim was the previous clerk.
Okay, because I was going to say they were good minutes.
Yeah, Kim
Yeah.
moved on,
Okay.
moved away, and Suzanne is now. So welcome, Suzanne.
Thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
a fairly easy board now
I hope so.
to monitor. Yes, we weren't always, but. So there's only a couple of things on here that I thought we should probably go over today, but I'm just going to ask if we want to move to accept the minutes as presented. Want to make a motion, anybody?
I move to accept the minutes.
All right, so the minutes of the November 18th meeting are moved and accepted. We're waiting for Joe Picorni to come on board so that he can do his presentation, since he is the person who is presenting today.
These are posted on the website, right?
Yes, everything is
Yeah,
on the
I figured it
website.
was. I just,
Yeah. While we wait for Joe, hopefully he'll come.
Zoom now.
He's coming now?
Right now on Zoom.
Excellent.
great.
Well, that's Joe Fenora, but we'll talk to Joe Fenora if Joe Corney is not here yet, and he can go over the grant, because we have some very good news with regarding the grant.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, very exciting. So Joe Fenora, and I don't, probably Meg can fill us in on that. Do you want to do that,
Well, I
Meg?
mean, Joe can do it because he's on here
Okay.
and he had more.
Yeah, so I think we want to publicly thank Jerry for being assiduous in getting this grant from Teal. You know, he pushed for it and it was awarded, so I publicly would like to thank him for that effort. Joe Fenora, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Sure.
Great. Yeah, just the quick and dirty on the grant is that we have been conditionally awarded $500,000 towards your major capital improvements, and specifically to the tasks of the new well installations and the electrical upgrades associated with them.
Okay,
This money's coming from New York State, and it was not awarded from the applications that the town and Suffolk Water had submitted earlier in the year. This was lobbied by Jerry with Fred Thiel at the state level, and that's primarily the reason that it came to the district. So we're really happy to be receiving this money. We haven't gotten the check yet. There's a bit of paperwork that still has to be done, but it's a sizable portion, and we'll be working with Amber Brock Williams to see how this will cascade to the ratepayers. But I think we were at 1.7 for the total capital cost of infrastructure, and
Right.
so that's this 500 will come off the top of that. And I think I was mentioning to Lisa as I caught her in the parking lot earlier in the week that you had some other capital funds already allocated. So your debt service for the rehab of the whole system is probably reduced now to about $1 million, which would be funded, remaining from the ratepayers.
yeah,
Okay.
it's a big chunk and we appreciate it very much.
Hooray.
So yeah, just to review what Joe just said, the surcharge amount, infrastructure cost was 1.7. The grant is 5, so that leaves a remainder of 1.2. We have approximately 140,000 in the bank to put toward it. So that leaves us with a debt service of about 1.1 million, which is good. I mean, better.
Better. 1.7.
Yes, it is. So we'll take it. And there was some question about when we were going to be paying, using our funds to pay Suffolk County Water. And we'll be looking at the finances in July, because when we had the agreement, the contract agreement, it was a year to date. So since we signed the contract in July, we'll be looking at the transfer of money from our account to Suffolk County Water to pay for our share of the surcharge for this year in July. And the way we structured it, I don't have that information in front of me, but Amber and I structured it in such a way that we wouldn't be taking out all of the money that we have in our account. But we would take out a portion of it, because that amount of money is supposed to be spread out to offset over 3 years.
Okay.
So, and we'll have that at our next meeting, sort of a heads up how that's going to work out and how the grant can be applied to that. I mean, it's coming, so that's a good thing. And that will change the debt service. It won't necessarily change our rates yet, but it will change what we owe, and then we'll have to do some restructuring when we get the monies.
But people on the system are currently paying this down, right? Or we haven't started paying for it at all yet?
Oh, no, we have.
Okay, that's good for people to know, that
Yes.
we're already paying on it. So it's not like this is a new bill that's going to be tacked on to what we've been paying the last
No,
year.
we're paying, with our monthly bill, we're paying that charge of $80, which goes toward testing. And we're paying for usage, but we're also paying into a portion of the debt service. I don't know what that is, and I won't know, I don't think, until we do the accounting.
But it's good to know that we're already paying it down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as Joe said, this monies will go toward, since the water mains has already started, that is, we can't apply the grant to that. So the grant will be applied to future work, like the water main itself, which we have to, a new well, I should say, that needs to happen. So the monies will go toward that and the other installations that have to be made. You want to clarify that, Joe? Is that right?
I'm not sure that it had to do with the mains being installed already, or that the grant monies were geared towards those other tasks. Some of them are earmarked sometimes for, electrical work or sustainability work. So I don't know if it couldn't be applied. I just know that it's $500,000, and we had asked for it to be applied to the well installation and the electrical upgrades. So,
Right.
in the end, it doesn't matter. You have to pay 1.7 million, and you're getting 500 towards it. So, no real difference in the end.
Right. Very good.
Lisa, was that grant written and lobbied by the town?
Personally, I think
mean,
like Jerry, right?
Who presented the grant?
There was no real application for the grant. What Jerry did was he spoke to Fred Thiel, expressed the need that we had, and, explained how it went with the other grants that we applied for, that we didn't get those grants, but we do have a significant need here. Is there any monies available at the state that could help offset this? And Fred was able to find money that had been allocated to someone else, and then their plan fell through, and it was a similar type of project. So then he was able to then give that money to us.
It's about knowing what's available out there.
And kind of knowing who to talk to.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Fred Thiel.
Having political clout.
Yeah, it was a very good connection there. He was able to let us know that there was some extra money available because other projects hadn't kind of panned out. So he was able to take that and help us with it.
Can I have a last name for Jerry?
Siller?
Are you coming on today?
Okay.
Oh my God.
Okay, well, we're in session, so if you could zoom in, that would be excellent, because we You are the agenda. That's fine. The link is on the website. It was on the correspondence that went to you earlier.
It's also on the town calendar.
It's on the town calendar, so. Okay, so, okay, thank you, Joe. All right.
Not a bad idea.
All right, so it's good I called. Very busy man.
So, Joe, it's Donna. I'm just questioning, we got personal calls about the water being, I already have that problem, as you and I talked about, but the water being deleted, so to speak, while all of these pipes and everything are being put in. So is there a date when is that currently happening, or am I making sense?
Yes, very much so. The work that has been done so far is that new water main pipe has been installed, laid into the ground, more or less right next to the old water main that's in the ground. And that pipe is sitting empty after it's installed. So what's happening the past couple of days and for the next 2 weeks is that Suffolk Water is disinfecting and flushing out the new pipe that was just put in. So after they dig the hole and they lay the pipe, they seal it, dirt can get in, stones can get in, there's residuals from, the installation process. They then fill the pipe, they disinfect it, and they systematically flush it out. So huge bursts of water come out, and they use that pressure to clean out the inside of the new pipe. That's why you got those messages about potential low water pressure, because they are quite literally filling up and pressurizing the pipe and then blowing it all out at once to get all this debris out. This is the standard procedure for installing new water main. And so that notice is to go out to the customers to say, hey, we're going to be discharging a lot of water. You may experience a drop in pressure. But we're doing the best we can. They think that process is going to take 3 weeks. They started this week. So we're working to get that done as quickly as possible. They do about 700 feet of new main get purged and disinfected per day. And that rate has largely to do with how much water you can extract, you can get out of the ground. So they need to build up pressure in the system to flush it out. And the critical path here is in how quickly the pumps can restore pressure. So in a bigger system, you can reach pressure faster, you can blow out the line more frequently. In our system, they blow out a section and then it takes several hours for the pressure to be restored. So that's what causes us to take several weeks.
Where is this water going, or where does it come out?
Right at the blow off, they're called blow off valves on the water mains, and they effectively goes right back in the ground at whatever checkpoint that is, wherever that valve is. So they're working their way through the system. They do 700 feet at a time. There's a blow off valve, and then they move on to the next one. All the water goes into the ground right there.
So we should see then, when that day happens, you'll see it in your sink when you're turning on your water, and like,
No pressure.
nope.
Yeah, potentially you'd see a loss in lower amount of pressure, but they can never let the system lose pressure. So there's a minimum that they are allowed to hit, and I think it's about 20 psi. So as they're cleaning out the pipes, there's a gauge there, and they let the water flow out until they hit this minimum pressure, and then they stop. They have to keep a certain minimum pressure in the system. And for most folks, you'll never lose running water. You just maybe, you won't have as much water coming through, but you'll always have water coming through your faucet. So you're not at risk of not having water to take a shower. You just might have a low.
It'll slow. Yeah. Okay.
What hours do they do this? Just like working hours, 9 to 5? or-
9 to 2.
9 to 2.
Yeah, our representative,
This is what it was talking about for me.
Try to
It's
pinch
still
the
going
day
on.
so they don't catch you while you're taking a shower on your way out to work in the morning. They try to do it during the day when most people are out of the house.
Got it.
Okay.
yeah, I haven't experienced any loss of pressure, but you say you have.
Yes, but
But you never have good pressure, right? So, I
well,
mean,
it will run like that, which show, it'll run like that. This is a lot. And then it's,
so that's poor pressure.
yeah,
Have you had good pressure from your faucet before?
this is only in the kitchen.
But I mean, have you previously?
Yeah.
You have?
Yeah.
Yeah.
6 months ago. So all of a sudden, this will then shoot with air pop, you hear. So you're not talking about this. So I'm thinking that somehow I'm on that pipe, that they're,
No, you can't be on the pipe they're flushing, because that's not connected yet. But they're sucking water out of the system, and that's what means there's less for the rest of us to use.
yeah. But it'll run like that and then there'll be like a push and then it will go. And sometimes it'll run great. Sometimes, but I was just saying, Joe, that just think that that's gonna help, hopefully,
Meg,
water pressure.
Yeah, so one,
My water pressure,
I would tell them.
not the rest of the house, so it
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense.
Tell them.
I don't know.
I wonder if anyone else is experiencing that, because I haven't noticed it particularly.
I haven't had any, have you?
People on Stearns Point have experienced it.
Okay.
And I saw them putting in those pipes in a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And the air pressure has expanded, not to the point I think it's gonna, but it was just interesting because it's driving me crazy.
Their pressure's decreased or expanded?
Did Joe Picorni say he was gonna log in on his phone?
Yes,
Okay, that's him, you can let him in.
yeah. Just to
They've
tack
had this.
on to what
not
Joe
new.
Fenora is saying,
Yeah.
this process is going to take about 3 weeks. And then the most disruptive process is when they're going to make the connections from the new main to individual houses. So we're only at the beginning of this process, but they want to do it before summer and peak season comes. So we may not be seeing the end of low pressure or,
Are they doing the hookups before summer?
I think they're endeavoring to, but Joe Picorni will let us know.
All right.
Yeah, I think they are.
Because that's when they'll have to turn off the water for a period of time to switch the pipe.
Yeah.
Right.
But they, I think I'm very happy and impressed with the way that the mains have gone in.
Yeah.
It's been pretty much uninterrupted service, and they've done it very expeditiously, so I think, they'll do it, they do this for much bigger districts than us.
I assume that they'll give every homeowner a heads up on what day they're coming to shut our water down to switch it over.
Yeah,
Yeah, but they also made personal calls.
Yeah, that's what I mean, let us know. Yeah. Because they may not do yours the same day as mine, so they need to let me.
But it's weird, this is just that one spot, and the rest of the house is fine.
I don't know if they're gonna
That doesn't make sense.
individually let every homeowner know, okay, today we're shutting off, we're gonna discontinue your service and make the connection. I don't know if that's, but Picorni's here, Mr. Picorni?
They'll be right outside your house.
Yeah,
Hello there, everybody.
okay,
hear me?
Joe.
Yeah?
I have got to apologize. I feel awful. I didn't have it on my calendar for some reason, and I was out in the field. I'm up in Huntington right now at a meeting, but hopefully I can answer whatever questions you have.
Well, so far, we've gone over the status of the grant, and we're very excited about that. And we were just talking about the water main and connections and, the flushing period of time being 3 weeks, and then the connections will come after that.
Right.
So that's sort of the first on our agenda, if you want to just expound on how that's going. It seems to be going good from our perspective.
Yep. So I think, like you said, the water main has been installed, and the water main is connected to the rest of the system. And what they're doing right now is they are flushing the chlorinated water out of the pipes, and they're sampling the water main as they do that. Every day at the end of the day, they take a set of bacteriological samples. And once they have flushed and sampled every section of the pipe, we will call that pipe in service. It's basically available to be tapped and to provide service to someone. So that will leave us now with basically 2 water mains: your old water main, which is still serving the customers that were always connected to it, and this new water main that's like parallel to it. And now the process, and I think I heard you say it, the process will then start of tying people over from the old water main to the new water main. And so what that involves with doing, and it shouldn't require a shutdown of the system in any way. And what we're going to do is we're going to tap the new water main. We'll run a line to the curb. We'll put a vault at the curb, and that vault is where the new meters are going to go. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take the service line that goes to the old water main, and we're going to disconnect it, and then we're going to reconnect it at the curb to the vault. Now that all sounds very easy to do, but we've got to take a close look at how the water service lines run so that we can put the vaults in the right spot. And there are going to be some places where we may have to reroute some of the service lines because of complexities of where they're located. So if that's going to be a one at a time process.
Right. Right.
And once that's all done, and once all the service lines are all connected to the new main, then what we would do is we retire the old equipment. We cut away the old water main that's there, and then that's forever depressurized and not part of the water system anymore.
Do you want to hazard an approximation of when the connections will begin, the cross connections, or is it too? You don't want to.
Yeah, we've already had the contractor out there to look at it. That work is going to be done by a company called Asplund. They're a subcontractor to us, not the same company that put the water main in. That was Roadwork Construction. So they're going to do that. Right now, the first thing to do is to finish the flushing of the water main. Seems to be going very well. I don't have an update on where they are, but I would think that given how good it's going right now, probably by the end of next week, we'll probably be done.
Okay.
Unless we have a bacteria problem, which occasionally will happen, which means we got to flush it some more and sample it again and run the tests again. So given the way it's going right now, it's brand new water pipe. It's clean as a whistle. So so far all the samples have come back good. So I don't anticipate we're going to have a problem. So if we finish next week, Asplund can probably start within a few weeks of that, maybe even sooner. But we're going to try to get going as soon as we can.
Okay, great.
Okay. And what we're going to do, Lisa, and the rest of the board, we're going to use meters. These are going to be brand new technology meters that use cellular in order to read them. Okay. And there's no difference in the price associated with doing this. Not going to cost you guys any more, but obviously it will have benefits because we're not going to have somebody come out and read the meters. We're just so you know, we're also going to swap them out at Daring Harbor. We're going to take all of our Shelter Island meters and convert them over to cellular communicating meters. The company that makes them is Itron. They're brand new technology. They are on back order right now, as a lot of things electronic are. So what we plan to do is, because we want to continue on with the project and get those vaults installed, we'll put the vaults in and we will put jumpers where the meters go, and we will leave the existing meters where they are, and everything will be kind of status quo as far as the metering goes until we get these new meters and we put them in. And then I think per your request, Lisa, when we take the old meters out, we're going to store them over at the pump station. And I think you said that you want them. You may want to sell them, or I'm not sure what you want to do with them, but you're free to have them. We have no use for them.
Well, yes, a lot of, probably most houses now have, or dwellings have, the digital meters, which are no good to the homeowner because we can't read them.
Right.
So I don't know if there's a market for them, but it would seem to me if there is a market that we could try and move them.
Sure. You never know. You never know.
I had another question. I was talking to an engineer and he said, because as you know, we talked about, there are quite a few properties where there are 2 meters and 2 dwellings that have water meters connected to them presently.
Yep.
Some of these are rental properties, and so they wouldn't be able to charge their renters, each property individually, if there's only 1 meter at the curb stop.
Right.
So what this engineer suggested is that we use what he termed shadow meters in each of the dwellings on the property. So say, for example, I have a rental on my property. The meter at the curb stop is what you would use to charge. I would then be able to, if I had meters in each individual building, be able to read them individually so that I could charge the renters
Yep.
what I need to charge them.
Well,
So,
let me ask you this, with those houses right now, and I know that's not a lot of them, but there are a couple of them.
it's about 6 or 7.
Yeah, so those places where there's 2 meters on the property, I assume, in fact, I probably should know the answer to this, but I'm just gonna make sure. So those, let's say you have a cottage in the back that you're renting out and it has a meter that serves it. That meter is a separate account and they're paying a water bill for that
Correct.
meter, correct? Okay,
Correct.
so
Yeah.
look, we don't allow sub metering, that you call it a shadow meter, but we don't want you to resell our water. And there are probably reasons for that I can't even explain to you because it's a rule that goes way back when. But one alternative is to just simply leave the meters where they are out on the property, and we'll just replace the meters that you have there with our new meters. So there may be a couple of properties, is what I'm saying, is where the meters are going to be interior to the property and not in vaults at the curb. But they'll still be read. They'll be the cellular type of meters that I described, and they'll still be read. And just so you know, another feature of these cellular meters, and I don't know when it'll be activated, but it will be, because it's part of the usefulness of having these meters, is that the customer will be able to log on to either our website or another website and see their water consumption. Okay.
Oh, that would be very good.
I know it would be very good. And a lot of times, we're doing it on Fire Island now, but in the rental situation where you have rental houses, sometimes it's very helpful because you can get a better idea of what people are consuming, or if you want to bill people separately, you can do it based on the readings that you observe on the internet. So that would be my proposed solution, would be not to yank all those meters that are on the property. We might want to take a look and see where they are, maybe replace them with vaults so that they're in the right environment. I know some of those meters that were on people's properties I think they were like directly buried or just in holes or something. So, we can fix them up and we can make them nice. We can put them in real vaults so that if we do have to access them in the future, we'll know where they are. We'll GPS them so that we know where they are. And if we have to get to them for some reason, we can get to them easily. So does that sound like a potential solution?
Yes, I'm just
Okay.
going to backtrack so I understand this. So the meter for multiple dwellings on one property, the meters would not be at the curb stop. They would remain in the dwellings on the property.
Yeah. Yep.
They are currently digital readouts. Those meters would be replaced with the ones the cellular. Is that correct?
Correct. Yep.
Okay, so I think that,
Well, I would hope the homeowner is involved in this whole process.
Yeah. If we're going to come on their property and say dig and put a vault in,
Yeah,
if that's
Yes, I mean,
necessary, we'd obviously coordinate with the homeowner. Yes.
yeah, that's good.
So
okay,
Chris Given came up with that. It seemed like the most reasonable way to do it. I don't think, again, it's not a lot of them. Like you said, it's 6 or 7. I don't have a strong feeling one way or the other. But we don't want meters to be in people's homes. That's the big thing.
Yeah.
So
Makes-
any meters that are inside, we want to make sure they're outside when this is all said and done.
okay, can I ask another question then? For the meters, for multiple dwellings on one property, for the meters that are located inside the house, and I'm thinking of one in particular that Mike and Ed always had trouble accessing, For
Right.
those meters that are inside the house, you would want to place them outside, either in a vault or some accessible place where they could be read.
Yes,
But for the ones that are, where the digital readouts are outside now, you wouldn't necessarily have to replace them because they're outside of the house
No, I think he wants to
Yeah.
replace them, doesn't he?
Well,
Don't
we-
you want to?
yeah, we-
with
we'd
their
still
meter.
replace them.
Cellular.
Yeah,
We'd still we'd still replace them. We may put a vault in so that they're in the right environment. But
Right,
yeah, they'd
okay.
be replaced. But they'd be in the same location that they are now, or close to it.
okay, I mean, that sounds good. I think what we were concerned about, and personally me as well, is having to reroute all of the service lines.
Well, that's one of the benefits is that we don't have to get into that. And
Okay.
and when I think about it also, if we do it this way, you guys have a certain number, we have a certain number of accounts associated with the water system, and you're spreading the capital costs across all those accounts. If now I combine the two accounts into one meter, you're going to lose a paying customer, so to speak, or someone that's contributing to the capital costs of the water system.
Right, well, I think it depends on how you would structure that as the property owner.
Yeah,
Yes,
I think it
definitely.
does.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep. Right. Yeah. If you only had one meter, then you'd have to change the way you bill the people.
Okay, so that's a non-issue, or it's an issue that we can,
Well, you know what? Actually, no, it's not necessarily the homeowner, because there's going to be, let's just say it's a house with a cottage in the back. You're going to take 2 meters and you're going to make them into one, right? And from our perspective, from the water authority's perspective and the town's perspective, you had 2 paying customers that were going to be contributing to the capital improvements, and now you only have 1. So if you ask me, that's going to mean you're going to have less revenue at the end of the year to pay the surcharge, and you're going to have to make that up. The town's
It
gonna
might
have to-
depend on how many people we're actually talking about here. If somebody has a true rental property, they're going to want to keep them separate because they want the renter to pay for their water.
that's right.
Right. Yep. But
Whereas
the
in
only-
some cases, that's not the case.
No. The only
But
charge in my mind I can think of right now that you would lose would be that $80 charge per house or per meter for,
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
for
we
your,
lose
And we're
that.
talking 6 maximum, right?
yeah, I'm not worried about losing the $80 charge. I'm worried about you losing the quarterly charge and the access fee that I believe is in the bill, right? That you would now not get from that other meter.
I'd have to go back and look.
I thought those were rolled into every bill now. They're not a quarterly charge anymore. They're every bill
Yeah.
has a surcharge.
Well, they're quarterly bills.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we can look at it, we can look it over financially, but I think this is a good solution to that.
Yeah, if we do it the way that I'm talking about it, then nothing changes.
I like the flexibility, though, for reevaluating whatever homes are there. Because some definitely need those separated. They want them
Right, right.
separated. I
Well,
have
look,
2 structures, but it's not a rental. It can't be a rental property. It's not really a house.
As well.
Okay. Well, look, what we'll do is when we come upon a home that has 2 structures and 2 meters, we'll stop the clock right there. We'll call the homeowner and we will decide how it's going to be handled. You know what I mean?
Okay.
We'll-
That sounds good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I think there are going to be a variety of applications.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah, if I were renting full-time, I'd want that renter to pay for whatever water they use. But if it's,
Understood. Then you want a separate meter for them.
you want a separate meter for something like that.
Yeah, especially in the summer,
And I think,
because that's when you're gonna have those renters, meaning people really, that many.
Well, if you have an auxiliary place that people rent it year-round, which
Yeah.
could be the case in some places, but yeah, you're right, though. Either way, it makes a difference.
Right. Okay.
okay, that's, yeah. The next item that we were going to bring up was customers' responsibility for new connections to the mains. But I think
Okay.
we've taken care of that. If we don't have to replace the meters or remove them from multiple dwellings, that was
Yeah.
really
Yep.
talking about, then this is.
That eliminates that. But look, I mean, again, Chris is the expert on this. He knows where all your service lines are at this point out there. There are a couple places where we're probably going to have to shoot in. When I say shoot in, I mean directionally drill from the street to spot on the property where the service line is, because the service line may be running, parallel to the curb or some crazy way where we want to get it straight. We want it to go straight into the property. So we may be reconfiguring some of the service lines, but we're taking care of that. That you don't have to worry about that.
So that would not be the homeowner's expense?
No, I mean, unless it was really extraordinary, we'll take care of it.
Okay.
So it's not new customer responsibility, it's current customer's responsibility. Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, if there's a new customer at some
A new-
point, if there's ever a new customer, the service line is their responsibility.
Yeah, got it.
Right.
This is just tying over the existing customers we're talking about.
Nice.
Now, since you don't have the cellular meters yet, that's probably going to be a while till we actually get those installed.
You know what? Itron, this company, we buy a lot of it's actually, the meter can be made by anybody. It's the head that's on the meter that Itron makes that we use. Their electronics, still semiconductors are all backed up overseas, and they've had trouble delivering a lot of things to us, right? So the supply chain shortages, they still exist. For anybody that doesn't realize that, there's still a problem.
Questions? We did go over the status of the grant with Joe Fenora and Meg
Sure.
Larson.
Sure.
They filled us in on
Yep.
where it came from and what it'll be applied for the wells and other connections,
Yep.
electric connections, I believe.
Yep. So
So-
I guess it was probably 2 months ago, maybe more. I think Jerry made contact with Fred Thiel and asked him if he was find some way to get some kind of grant for the water system to offset some of this capital cost. And it looked like Fred Thiel came through, because we were then contacted by his office and we worked with one of his staffers to apply for a grant. And of course, we had already, we tried for a grant, as you guys all know, for the water system, and that didn't work out with the Environmental Facilities Corporation. But here we just recently, just a week ago, heard from, and it's the Dormitory Authority of the State of New York. And don't ask me what they have to do with, providing grants for water systems. I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. But they notified us last week that we were approved for a $500,000 grant. And
What was that? What
is
service? What department?
the Dormitory Authority of the State of New York is called DASNY.
Dormitory.
Yeah.
It's like a facilities management I know SUNY deals with them all the time.
They do,
Interesting.
yeah. Yep. So I'm whatever. I'm not going to opine on
Yeah,
that.
no, I mean,
So-
it's,
So we received, I think I even I don't think I forwarded you what they sent me, but they sent me all the paperwork and the formal applications that have to be made in order to get into like a contract with them for the grant. So we're in the process of doing that now. I have my grants person in our office is working out all of the forms and the legal stuff that has to be signed off in order to secure the grant. I still have to have my board pass a resolution. So this grant money is going to come directly to the Water Authority.
right.
Now, the last time we talked, it was applied for by the town. And then the town was going to reimburse the Water Authority, but that kind of gets complicated. And I think we're just better off if the money just comes to the Water Authority. And then what we're going to do, I already talked to our finance people. We will deduct that from the outstanding balance. When we
Right.
get the money, we'll deduct it from the outstanding balance and we'll recalculate the surcharge.
Okay, yeah,
And it's just like if you made an early payment on your mortgage, basically.
right.
So we've got a mechanism for dealing with that. And right now it's just a matter of dotting the i's and crossing all the t's so that the DASNY is comfortable with giving us the grant. I already had a conversation with a gal up there very, very cooperative, very professional. Sounds like she knows exactly what she's doing. So I'm hopeful that this is all going to work out. It seems all good at this point.
Great.
All right. Now, like I
Yeah,
said,
because we're
our
going to be
board
doing
meets-
our financial accounting in July, correct?
It may even be earlier than that. I think it's probably around the anniversary of the agreement, which was May 31st.
Was it really? I thought it was July. Oh,
I
okay.
think the short-term agreement started in July, but I believe that we signed it and it was effective May 31st. Could be wrong,
Okay.
but I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
Well, that's coming up.
Yeah, yep.
So
Yep.
it may be likely that this grant will not have been received by then, correct?
Oh, no, the grant money will not be received until the work is done. So that's the way it's done. There's you do the work unless it's different. Now I did see some stuff in the paperwork that said you can start invoicing them for the money, but all the grants that I've ever worked on, you have to do the work first and then produce all the invoices and the receipts and proof of the cost before they will give you money. But that remains to be seen.
So how does that work, Joe?
Well-
Do you hold off on that, on our end, on collection end, until the work is done?
Yeah. So the water authority will do the work. We'll pay all the bills. And then when we're all done, we'll produce all the documentation that they need to send us the money. And they'll refund it to us. And once we get the check, then we will stop the clock, so to speak, on that particular, that $500,000 worth of debt. And we'll recalculate the surcharge. Now, just so we all understand the timing, we still have to get a permit for the well, right?
Yeah,
So let's talk about that too, because I think I may have told you, Lisa, I know I told Joe, but after our experience last August or September with the number 5 well, which we wound up pulling the pump on and then doing an inspection on,
yep.
we determined that those 2 wells on the golf course are really, what would I say? They're substandard. So what we want to do is we're going to replace those wells. Okay, we're not going, originally we were going to drill a number 7 well, like a 3rd well on the property, on the golf course property. And what we're going to do now is we're going to drill 2 new wells, 2 replacement wells for those wells that are there. Okay.
In the same
And-
location? Or in a different
they'll be
location?
relatively close by. Within 100 feet or so. So we'll have to pick some new locations that are okay with the town and work for the golf course. But that way we'll retire these substandard wells. And what we're going to do is when we replace them, right now they're 25 gallon a minute wells. We're going to replace them with 100 gallon a minute wells.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
what that's going to do is that's going to take 2 25 gallon a minute wells, basically 50 gallons a minute, and it's going to turn it into 4 times the capacity, or 200 gallons a minute. So that is going to obviously greatly increase the capacity of the water system by doing that.
I don't understand how that's done, Joe. I mean, the capacity of those wells, I thought, has already been sort of enumerated, how much can be drawn out based on the
Yeah.
depth and the location and the substrate and.
Well, I don't think that much thought went into them. I think that somebody said just drill a 4-inch well and that's what we're gonna get what we get out of it. My hydrogeologists have looked at it and are pretty comfortable that they can easily replace those wells with like 8 or 10-inch diameter wells that will provide at least 100 gallons a minute. We drilled 2 new wells up on Manhasset, up by over in Daring Harbor, and we got easily 100 gallons a minute out of the wells there. And they tell me that the hydrogeological conditions are as good or better over there on the golf course. So what we have to do though is we have to get the DEC to modify the permits. So
Right.
that's what we're working on right now.
Also, in our last meeting, we talked about Shelter Island Heights having wells very close to this, and they're like 100 feet from where wells 5 and 6 are right now. So you were going to get a report from the DEC about the capacity of that well. Were you able to do so?
Yeah, so obviously we got some work to do to coordinate with the DEC to make sure that they're okay with the increased withdrawal in that area. That's what we do. I mean, I'm pretty comfortable that we'll be able to get that done.
Uh-huh.
But it does take time. And we don't drill wells during the summertime when other wells nearby are operating. So I'm hopeful, what the plan is at this point would be to drill these wells over the fall and winter of next year. And then, have them all ready for service for next year.
Okay. And right now, with the new restaurant and their capacity to store water, that's not going to be an issue.
Well, they were in service there. They're in service now, I assume, right? They're open right now?
Oh, yeah, they're
Yeah.
open.
We opened in September last year.
Yeah,
But
they opened
Sunset
up-
Beach is not open, so that's going to impact, that's our greatest customer, our largest customer, and that'll impact
Right,
everything.
right. Yeah, but they were open in August, I think the end of August and September last year. And the way their system works is they fill at night.
Yeah.
So they fill that cistern that they have at night. And that's how and then they don't take water during the day. So, as long as, and this goes to connecting up new people. I do not want to connect anybody additional to the system until we have more capacity. And we just can't do that. The system is an engineering miracle as it is, that it provides water to people with such small wells and such little capacity. But, we can't connect anybody else up at this point.
No, because even last spring, we were wondering if we were going to be able to service the new restaurant.
Well, I did an analysis.
You had
of
talked
it.
about the insecurity of that.
Yeah, I did an analysis of that. I worked with the health department because they wouldn't give them a CO until we met with the health department and showed them what the capacity of the system was and how they were going to operate. And then they signed off as to how they were going to take water during the off-peak periods. But when they open their valve and they take water, we can see it on our charts. So it's clear that, that they're taking water from the system at like 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
Like 2 to 4. Yep. But I think we'll be okay for another year. That's the challenge, would be to get through another year here. And then when we get bigger capacity wells, we could all take a collective exhale.
Okay. Questions? Okay,
I have a question. Sorry, Joe, if you do secure 200 gallons per minute, what's your take on how many customers that would support?
Well, it depends on how we approach it, Joe. One of the things that I would like to do is I would love to see a lot of these storage tanks that people have retired and gotten rid of, because they really are not in keeping with the health department regulations. And if people should be, they should be pressurized from the water system and not from some internal plumbing system and storage system that they have. Now, that may not be possible with only 200 gallons a minute, but I'll have to take a look at it. I can't necessarily answer your question, but
How many people have that?
if you looked
How many
at it,
people have storage?
what's that?
I just wondered how many.
house has storage.
Well,
So
I wonder
Leon
that too.
has
I don't really
storage.
know. Yeah,
So
wonder
it's
also-
Sunset Beach has storage.
businesses, in other
Yeah, the
words.
restaurants have storage, and ostensibly, years ago, when they put it in, it was for their fire protection systems, that they were required to have, sprinkler systems, and so they put these storage tanks in for that purpose. And I don't know if that's still regulation, but they have to have the capacity to, have a certain amount of water in the event of fire.
Yeah, but I mean,
So-
a system like that would probably, to be compatible or to be in conformance with health department rules, it would have to be like a separate cistern that fills up and is isolated from the water system with like its own booster pumps that would provide water in the event of a fire. The way I understand a lot of these systems, and I only know because Mike and Chris have been in people's houses reading meters, and they've been in some of these bed and breakfasts. They tell me that there are tanks lined up in the basement, in one or two
Yeah.
of them at least.
Yep.
And I really don't, I'm not sure how they work, to be honest with you. I'm not sure whether they are not gravity, but atmospheric tanks that are just filling up. And then there's a booster pump that serves the house. Some of the pictures that I saw of them led me to believe that that's what they were, but then I was told the boosters were no longer in service. So there's no way that they could work that way if the boosters don't work. So, at some point, I think we're going to need to get serious about what people are doing to kind of straighten things out.
I agree,
that's-
because that brings up the other issue, which we spoke about in November, which is the backflow inspection issue, that some
that's
of
true.
these have not had inspections. So, and that jeopardizes everyone on the system.
Yes, absolutely. So that's something that we need to get serious about also. These meters, when we put these meters in, they're going to come with little check valves in them, double check valves, so that every house has backflow basically on them. So that will happen when the meters go in. That's just part of the assembly.
Can I ask a question, Lisa? It's Julia from the Gazette.
Sure. Yep.
Hi.
Joe, could you just explain what the hazard is when people have these kinds of storage tanks on their property?
Yes. So, typically, if you have a tank on the property and a booster system, that if the tank has got some type of contamination in it, so it's got maybe some type of bacteria growing in it, and then the booster kicks on to provide water pressure to your second floor, or, when you turn on a second shower, and the booster pressure in the building overcomes the system pressure, you could be pushing water back out into the water system. And if you have bacteria in your tank, you could be pushing that out into the water system. So that's why it's a concern.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess we want to just talk about next steps, but it sounds like that the connections are the next steps, and then after that, you'll move on to the well.
Yeah. So like I said,
Development.
we're working on the wells as far as the permitting goes right now. And then there's going to be a set of drawings that have to be put together for the electrical work. We didn't talk about the other part of the project. That's not only replacing the wells, but then it's also running new feeders across the street to the pump house on Shore Road there. And what will happen is we'll abandon the electric service on the golf course, and all the power will come out of the pump house. And what that will do is that will give us more ability to, give us the ability to run both wells simultaneously. Right now, you can't. So we're kind of limited in capacity also because of the fact that we can't run both wells together on the golf course. It's either one or the other. So
I have another question, Joe. There's a storage tank in the pit that
Yep.
was there to provide contact time for chlorination. Is that still in service? And what will how will contact time be provided? Or will you consider putting a new storage tank? Because it's not very large.
So there are 3 storage tanks in the pump house.
Yeah.
One of them developed a leak about 6 months or a year ago. And we took that out of service because that was the older of the three. The two that are left look like they're okay. We don't read, it's very hard to tell because you can't get in them. They're kind of, I think they're only 500 or 1,000 gallons each. And at least I think I don't believe that they are operating as chlorine contactors. I believe the chlorine injection, if it's not, it should be, is after the tanks. You know what? I
don't know.
Yeah, I can't say for sure either. I may have misspoken. There may be before. It may be before the tanks. But as far as contact time goes, that's really not necessary in a groundwater system like yours. We don't do that anywhere else. You know, for specifically for contact time, because the wells are bacteria free, so there's no reason why you need the contact time. You know what I mean? It's not like a surface water system where you have things living in the water that you need to kill. We don't have that situation here.
Yeah, I just thought it was a Department of Health regulation, a mandate that we had to comply with.
No,
That's the way I always understood it to be.
Yeah,
but-
I've not seen that or been told that by anybody. And again, that's not the way we operate any of our system. We have those tanks. We have similar tanks to the ones that we have at West Neck, but they're simply there as a store of pressure. You know, that's what they do. They function as a pressure storage device, and they prevent the pumps from having to run continuously. The pumps can cycle into those tanks. That's what they're there for. So that may just be an urban legend that you heard.
Could be.
Yep.
Anybody have any questions?
Hi, Joe. The question I have is, we talked about this and I looked exactly when this problem started last November, and you were kind enough to send someone over. West Neck Water. When he got there, it's my kitchen. I know it's personal, but it's driving me crazy. It will start to come as a flicker. And then if I let the water run like for 10 minutes, then it will come out like regular streaming that it should be.
Yeah.
And he said he couldn't figure out what was causing it, so we should bring in our plumber, which we did. And he doesn't know why it's doing that. And it's only on one location in the house, which is my kitchen sink. So, and Joe and I were talking, Joe Finora and I were talking just like maybe after all of the new pressure is coming in and all that, it will change. But my question is, I don't really know if there's someone at West Neck Water that would understand why this one pipe or whatever is in the ground does this. I'm wasting a lot of water to get it to have a better flow. And somebody's got to know what's wrong with it, because we don't know. We checked everything with the filters. We've added new filters. We did everything that was suggested to us, and it's still doing it. So I'm in a quandary about what to do next and who to talk to next. And I know Joe said, well, maybe once everything is installed, but then it's crazy because it's only this one place and everything in the whole house is fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something to do with your internal plumbing.
Yeah, it sounds like a plumbing issue.
I asked him, no, he doesn't know why.
Well,
Yeah.
doesn't mean
You'd have the problem throughout the entire house if it was in the water main.
That's what I'm thinking. Because I'm personally asking, but I've gone through
Yeah.
3 plumbers and no one seems to know.
Is this Donna that's talking?
It's Donna.
Yeah, okay, all right, Donna, I just wanted to make sure. What kind of, this is your kitchen sink?
Yeah, I know. No one else needs to listen to this. I can speak to you later unless
Yeah.
people are interested. Yeah,
What kind of faucet is it? Is it a 2-handle faucet, or is it the kind where you flip it from one side to the other?
2-handle.
It's 2-handle, huh?
No one needs to listen to this. This is selfish. But
I know. You're right. Yep. Well,
I know you've been having
it does
an
sound like
issue for a long time.
It's since been November that I last was speaking about this. So there's something.
You need a plumbing diagnostic. You need somebody
Yeah,
to
there's
come in and,
Sorry,
There's a
but maybe
restriction in
there's
there
somebody
somewhere.
in, yeah.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, sorry about that, Don.
I'm sorry to waste everybody's time, but I thought maybe there was some reason that,
No,
okay.
The only other thing that I have on the agenda that was just customer satisfaction. I think we're all very satisfied with the work that's being done and the timeframe that it's being done in. So I'd just like to say thank you for that because it's been a pleasant experience, which
yeah,
it hasn't been always in the past with
yeah. No,
installation.
The contractor that did the work, Stephen Grimes from Roadwork Construction, he's a gem. He's a great guy, and his workers really take pride in the work that they do. And then on top of all of that, he's really knowledgeable. And I remember when you guys were concerned about making a turn around Menantic and going down towards the restaurant, and you know,
Yeah.
you were concerned about the buried electric that were there, and he got through there like it was nothing. But that's just an indication of the skill and the ability that a contractor like him has. So it's really him.
I do have one more question. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Joe.
Nope, that's
And that
okay.
is, I was surprised that the water mains went down under the road because, you know, we have always tried to keep it on the verge because we were told that if there was a leak or a problem, it would be much easier to rectify. So you're confident that leaks, et cetera, won't pose a problem and you'll be able to diagnose them under the road and take care of it, I am assuming. I was just surprised to see how in the road the water mains were.
You mean how deep?
Well, no, how.
They're in the road
They're
at
in the
all.
road.
Oh,
Yeah.
you mean in the road surface? Yeah, no, that's
They're
fine.
under the asphalt.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, if there's a leak, it will typically surface. I hear what you're saying. I mean, this is a new water main, so I don't anticipate it's going to leak. We did a leak detection check on it after we put it in, but yeah, it's common. We've got water main in the road all over the place, and if there is a leak, it does surface, and you do find out about it. You know, and we can see it in the charts. We'll see usage when we don't expect usage. So if there's a leak, we'll know about it.
I had came from under the.
The road might even provide an element of protection for the pipe as opposed to having it under the ground where somebody could
Well,
drive over it or park. I don't know.
That's all the.
Yeah,
see.
yeah. I mean, you know, if it's in the grass, somebody could just drive a pole or, you know, a stake or something through it. It'd have to be pretty deep, but you know, it's more susceptible to damage if it's in the grass than it is if it's on
That's
the
my
road.
point.
How deep is the main?
Should be about 4 feet.
No, 3 or 4 feet. I saw them putting it in on Stearns Point.
They were incredibly efficient. I have to give them a lot of credit.
And they were very kind and nice and really
Yeah, no, they know what they're doing.
nice guys.
Yep.
Personally, we're making sure to put signs on everybody's door because my friend, you know, we're out of town. And I said, don't worry, they're not here. And he said, well, we saw their cars. I want to make sure everybody knows. I said, that's unusual. Welcome to Shelter Island.
Yeah, no, well, look, they do work in Southampton. They do work in all kinds of neighborhoods on the South Fork, and I very rarely will I get a complaint about them.
Very, very nice.
Always very respectful.
Any questions, Bob?
No, I guess maybe just review the timeline. When, you know, the day when we say goodbye, squaw, or at least in this
Construction
chapter.
Yeah.
Construction, yes.
You mean, when do you think we'll be completely done with the distribution system and the meters and everything?
Yep.
I would hope we're done. I mean, like I said, the meters is still a question because of the availability of them. But I would hope that we'd have everything tied over. Where are we? We're at the end of April, and it's almost, you know, I would hope that by Memorial Day, we have everybody tied over and we're out of there.
Oh,
Wow.
That
That'd be
would
good.
be, I think that would be a reasonable objective. I mean, I can get back to you. I haven't asked the question specifically to my people, but yeah, let me take a look and see if I can get you an estimate, because it's a function of when they start. So let me.
It'd be
take
good
a
to
look
share
at
with
that.
all users, I think, that timetable, even if it's a tentative one, so people
Yeah,
can kind
yeah,
of plan.
don't hold me to that Memorial Date. I'm just thinking about that. I thought that
Make
was,
it longer
I thought that was,
than
I
a
thought that was 2
surprise.
months away. I thought that was 2 months away. That's only 1 month away.
Yeah, and you have to have the meters before you can guarantee that everything.
Yep,
You
yeah.
said,
Yeah.
you said
I'm sorry?
nothing.
July 4th, maybe.
Yes, and then when it comes earlier, they'll be
That's usually
happier.
when our season starts, is
Yeah.
July 4th.
That,
So,
that may
June
sound
is-
more reasonable. I was gonna say the end of June, but maybe July 4th sounds like a reasonable date.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
let me talk to them and I will get back to you on Monday, Lisa, and let you know.
Okay, we'll put tentative beside
Yep.
that comment.
That's fine.
Hey, do you have any questions from the town?
I do not.
No questions?
No.
Okay. Well, if no one has any questions, BJ, are you good?
I'm good.
Okay. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward.
Very. And happy.
Lori has her hand up.
Okay, Lori?
Hi, everybody. I just have a couple of questions. It was mentioned that there's been no backflow RPZ inspections, and that is a little concerning to me as a customer. Especially since we have a number of commercial users that have these holding tanks that are, and these businesses haven't been in operation over the winter. They've been dormant. And so I'm just a little worried about the lack of the RPZ inspections as required by the health department.
Well, the owner of the facility is responsible for the inspection, so I can't necessarily say that they haven't been inspected.
But
Because that's,
but Joe, as New York State requires, it's not even the county health department. The water authority is responsible for getting those reports from
yes,
those
totally understand.
businesses. And they're meant to supply it to you or West Neck Water, I'm not sure who it goes to now, as the
Yep.
water supplier.
Totally
So
understand that.
if you don't have the paperwork, then you either need to get it or see if
Yep.
it was done or not done.
Yep, let me check with Cross Connection. I know that Laura Windhurst, our Cross Connection manager, was, she knows about the system. She's been, anticipating getting them into compliance. I'm not sure if she's done much with it. She may have already gotten test reports from the homeowners. So let me take a look at that and see.
Okay, and then the second part of that question is, you've got a number of properties which are actually visible from the road that have drip irrigation systems, which, West Neck Water had never allowed. I'm not sure if it's allowed now or not, but as per the town code, those also should have, are required to have backflow devices on them. So then there's that second part of that question is, are those being inspected, or is irrigation now allowed? And I'm more concerned about the backflow inspections for both the potable water as well as the irrigation.
Well, I can't speak to the allowance of the irrigation systems. That's a town requirement, and that's something for the town to enforce. So that's a requirement, but as far as there being backflow protection on those irrigation systems, once again, I have to talk to Lisa about that. Laura Windhurst, and see what she's done about that. But as far as there being an irrigation system that's not consistent with the town code, that's the town's responsibility to enforce.
Well, the irrigation system is, as per the not only town code, but there's the West Neck Water rules and regulations, which I'm not clear on if they're in effect or not. But the town code in the irrigation chapter requires the backflow device when those are installed. And so my question is, who's reviewing those and who's inspecting those for cross-contamination?
Well, we would review them to make sure that they are installed properly. And then when it comes time for an inspection, that would be done by the owner of the property through a licensed backflow inspector, and that would be reported back to us.
Right, so
because
that's
we manage the backflow system.
so that's the question. Is that being done? Because I'm not talking about new ones, Joe. I'm
I
talking
understand.
about talking about existing.
Yep, I understand your question. And like I said, I need to talk to Laura Windhurst, our cross connection manager, to see what she's done, if anything.
Right now, the status is that the West Neck water rules and regulations with regards to irrigation are still very much in place. We haven't revoked them. But as we all know, enforcement is an issue, both locally with the West Neck Water Board and with the town. So with regards to, is it allowable? No, it's not. Are we going around and looking at these irrigation systems? We've already sent letters to the homeowners that have them and asked that they be disconnected, and we've had some various responses about that. But it's just a matter of enforcement.
Well, it's not just thank you, Lisa, that's helpful to know. But it's not just that, it's the inspection. You know, if these systems do exist, there's an inspection requirement for the RPZs, the backflow devices.
Well,
Right.
but I think what we're saying though is if they exist, they shouldn't, because they're not allowed.
Right.
So I think that's the most important question is, if they're not allowed, then they should be disconnected, and then there's no inspection necessary.
And that is an issue. It's an issue. It's an issue both with our district, as I said, and I think with the town, is, just checking to make sure that they're not in use any longer.
What did we do in the past? Because I don't remember ever.
We would go to doors and knock on doors, and we would send letters to different homeowners and ask them to please remove their irrigation system. And the last response that I remember having was that a homeowner said, when I bought the property, the irrigation system was here, so it's not my responsibility to remove it. And there was some threatening litigation. We just didn't pursue it because it got onerous. So that's where it's left off. But as far as I think the district is concerned, there is nothing allowable. So people are putting in irrigation systems. It's illegal. So I don't know, do you want to speak, Meg, to the town and irrigation?
The building department, and they have to go out and write them up.
You go to the,
So, yeah, if you have a neighbor or someone who has an irrigation system that's not allowed in that area, you have to report it to the building department, and then code enforcement would go out and write them a ticket.
right, and that's what we did
Write them a ticket.
with that one homeowner who then came back and said, I didn't put it here, it's not my responsibility.
But it's your property, so now it's your responsibility,
Right.
and then it moves forward from there.
And it went forward.
Don't
from
turn
there.
it on.
Disconnect.
That's not the solution.
Yeah.
So that's a local issue, Joe.
Yep, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah. And I wish there was a positive outcome, but at this present time, there isn't. Besides one of us going out and taking shears and cutting the system.
Yeah.
And digging it up.
Well, the water.
Vigilantes, that's what we need.
We have been that in the past, believe me.
Well, we have a similar problem. The Water Authority instituted an odd even regulation last year for all of our customers on the mainland. And, it's like we can issue whatever we want, but we don't have any enforcement power. So we look for voluntary cooperation. Unless it gets completely out of hand, then we're going to try to get the towns to pass an odd even regulation, or even the county, so that there is some enforcement behind it. But, right now, our regulation is just ours. But
Okay,
at least you
thank you.
guys have the town.
Or is your hand up? Did you have something you wanted to add?
Yeah, so I guess the question then is really for Meg and Joe for Nora. If, like I said, my biggest concern is the backflow devices on these irrigation systems that shouldn't be there, and the risk of contamination to the water system. So if you could please.
I guess, Lori, if you know of some, maybe you need to just come to the town with that information and then they could pursue it.
Well, I mean, all you had to do is walk around or even take a bike ride or you don't even have to get out of the car. Actually, I never got out of the car. You just drive around the block, you can see them. It's very,
I recommend you report them.
okay. Well, I didn't realize that I was responsible for code enforcement. I thought the town was.
That's true. But they can't be everywhere at once, so if you see something, say something, and then it's on them to take it from there.
I guess it's not just you,
I mean,
Lori,
it's
anyone could
not-
do it.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
they're in a million different places, so they can't see every violation.
No, and as you know, Lori, we have reported to the town when we've seen them. You
But
know,
the
the
town is not looking for, right?
Not
I mean,
specifically.
there's no agency.
You'd have to be driving around every
Yeah, there's
road.
like the building department and the inspectors are very busy, so they're not gonna be like, okay, today I'm just gonna drive around looking for
Right.
violations in the West Neck Water
They'll-
District.
But they'll
Like
only
they-
respond to a complaint by a resident,
They'll
right?
respond to a complaint, I mean, if they happen to see something, then
Yeah.
they'll address it.
Right.
But if they don't see it, then they don't know that it's there, they don't know to address it, unless someone
And-
tells
and-
them that it's
And
happening.
the process is to give that person a ticket. And
Yeah,
the
first
ticket
you
is
give them notice.
returnable, the ticket is returnable where, Meg?
Well,
I got a ticket, what do I do with it?
it would be like if a cop gave you a ticket, you have a notice to appear in court or something like that. So it'll depend on how it's written, but, you know, the first part is you have so many days to remedy the situation. So here's your notice, this is what's in violation, these are the measures that you need to correct. And then they'd come back, okay, did you correct it? Yes or no? You corrected it, great, congratulations. If not, okay, here's your next step. And so we're gonna actually be having someone come in to train the building department on code enforcement to make sure that it's done correctly and that protocols are followed. Because, you know, as said, to date, we have poor code enforcement. We've never had a very good formal training in how to do it correctly to make sure that it's fair for everyone involved. So we're looking to have that happen.
Now in the building department, who is so charged?
Yes.
Who is that?
Like Michael.
Michael?
So we're working on training him and the other building inspector.
Oh, he hasn't had his
Michael, the
training.
scientist. Can I just interrupt for 1 minute? You can continue this conversation, but I do want to let Joe Corney go.
Oh, yes.
So Joe, thank you very much for your update. And
Okay.
we look forward to hearing from you at our next meeting, which I'm not sure when that is. I think it's in 3 months. Anyway, the schedule is on our website. So, and I will give you adequate notice about that.
I appreciate it, Lisa. You got to remind me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's all right.
Okay.
All right. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Nice
All
talking. to
right,
you.
bye.
So I have one other comment, and this actually is for Meg. Meg, you know, I just find it a little concerning that you're relying on residents or neighbors to report each other on a public health concern, such on a backflow device. I mean, this is not like, you know, somebody's put up a fence and, you know, this is too high or did something without a building permit. I mean, this is a serious thing in terms of a, you know, a backflow device and contamination, potential contamination to the West Neck water system. I don't think you can rely on neighbors to report that.
Lori, you know, for years, and you know this because you sat on the board, for years, we did our own monitoring of irrigation systems.
Yes, we did.
We would tell each other who had them, and we would speak to the homeowner and ask that they remove them or discontinue them. So we always took care of it ourselves. We didn't necessarily rely on the town. So I'm not sure if you're
No,
saying that
no,
it is
that would-
now the town's responsibility.
No, that's not true, Lisa. When we saw those things, I was the one who reported them to the building department because I was on the West Neck Water Board. So I reported them to the building department as a board member.
I only know of one that got reported.
No, there were several, because I was the one who reported it to the building inspector, who went over then and took a look.
Okay?
Well, if we see them, we will do likewise, I guess.
Thank you.
Okay?
Mhm.
Yeah, we're good? I think we can adjourn the meeting unless there's anything else anybody wants to discuss or
You don't talk about my faucet anymore, I'm kidding. I second it.
Julia Brennan has something.
Lisa, just for whatever it's worth, when I lived in Suffolk County on a public water system, in Nassau County, we had to annually recertify the backflow device.
Yeah,
On our
you called the Heights office and not the Ferry office.
No, this was in,
So let me see if I can get somebody.
Lori, please.
Yeah. Well, it may be on the phone. Maybe that's why no one's picking up. Let me see if I can get someone for you.
Julia,
hi, yeah, I just wanted
I'm
to,
sorry for that. You're saying as a homeowner, you would have to have a backflow inspection every year?
as a homeowner, we were required to annually re-inspect the backflow device on our sprinkler system. And
Right.
it went to the water company. The water company issued it to us and it went to the water company.
And
without
which water company were you?
it changed about 7 times in the 20 years that I was there. So there were all different types of private water companies. But it was a water provider and they were responsible for collecting that information from us. And I don't know if that's a quirk of Nassau County law that's different than Suffolk County, but maybe the town wants to get involved perhaps, or the West Neck Water District in requiring those kinds of things.
I got the impression from Joe Picarni that there is an office there that looks into this, and he just didn't know if, whatever her name was, had actually made contact with people yet,
Right.
especially the businesses that absolutely have to have something like that. So it could be it's already in the works and we just don't know it.
Yeah.
Or it could be that they're just now getting, organized and then they're going to be doing it, but it's
Let's not
probably a
forget that
Board of Health.
New check valves will be installed with the meters as part of your upgraded system. So every property is getting a new, quote unquote backflow preventer installed with their vault and meter
yeah.
installation. So, we're just a few weeks away from having that equipment installed. Anyway.
So that should solve the problem?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, it would
address the
solve
concern?
problem from water coming from a specific house back into the system
Right.
and contaminating the whole system.
I think, Julia, the issue is that when you're allowed an irrigation system, that becomes a necessity, especially if you're on municipal water. Most people on Shelter Island are not on municipal water. And if they have an irrigation system, then it's a moot point. But for those of us who are on public water, that's where it becomes, where we have to have inspections.
Yeah.
And it is, and it always has been, the responsibility of the homeowner or the business owner to get that inspected. And then we, as a water company, would receive the notification from the party that did the inspection, because it's private. It's like a third party. It's not a government inspection office or company. You go to a private service to get that done. Does that help
Yeah, understood.
with the issue? Yeah.
Yep, understood. And I think Joe also, his comment was understood as well.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, everybody. Really appreciate your time.
Okay,
Thank
take
you,
care,
guys.
Joe. So I guess I
you,
move to
Lori.
adjourn.
Second?
All right.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you. Any comments, concerns, or?